talk about the energy update, looking out from kind of the rest of the week towards the new moon and then going into the rest of the month. All right. So we have on the 16th, which today is the 9th, right? So on the 16th, in a week, we will have the new moon, which will be in Leo with tropical astrology, and then in Cancer with sidereal Vedic astrology calculations. And so, as we know, new moons are a wonderful time for setting our intentions. New moons are a nice kind of like fresh start, energetically speaking. And looking at a fire sign like Leo with the tropical calculations, or a water sign with Cancer, those are, of course, two very different elements that can be in play that you might be experiencing with the new moon. And instead of looking at those signs or those elements being in conflict with each other, those two systems of astrology being in conflict with each other, I often like to look at them as a synthesis, as a hybrid of the two, astrology systems, which there are more than two, right? There's so many different ways to calculate the astrological placements, the planets, the constellations. It depends on where the center of the galaxy may be, or where your kind of focal point is. And I think they're really the main thing to remember, because it can really get almost kind of overwhelming. And it's like, which system is right? Which one works? Which one resonates with me? But the thing to really remember is that it's our vantage point too. It's like our experience here on this planet, here on Earth, and kind of how those energies affect us as we're literally spiraling and floating through space on this beautiful rock with trees and animals and lots of other humans and things, right? So, depending on your astrological makeup, depending on almost kind of like what timelines you're operating on and what energies you're working with, you may find that one of the astrological systems, whether it's the tropical, the Western, or the sidereal, one might resonate more with you, or you might be able to say, well, in some areas of my life, I'm really feeling kind of like those Leo energies, for example, with the new moon, and then some other aspects, I'm really still kind of feeling that Cancer vibe. And as we know with astrology, it's when the signs, like when the moon is moving through the different signs and the sun is moving through the different signs and all these things, it's not like there is a flowing into that and a flowing out of that. There may be a pre-shadow period and then afterwards as well. And then there is that peak of the energy too, which is significant. But it's not just like stop, start, right? There is a flowing into that and a moving through. And the signs, it's just like this gentle kind of, rotation too. So there is going to be an ebb and flow, and kind of where you're at and kind of where your perspective is, your focus is, you might feel pulled to, those different energies, those different elements too. So I hope that makes sense. But looking at the new moon in Leo, or Cancer, however, or both, right? Fire and water, that we will really kind of feel like a breath of fresh air, for maybe some of this kind of sluggishness and this kind of almost like stopped up energy that we may be feeling right now. And whether that is that fiery kind of Leo energy, just kind of like, that projective energy, that kind of holding your head high and saying, okay, I'm gonna stick to this, I'm gonna work through this. Or if it's that Cancer energy and just kind of like saying, okay, I'm gonna go with the flow. And I don't know if y'all can hear Poppy, she's like yowling. But she's our cat, one of our cats in the shop. But with that, go with the flow, with the Cancer energy, but then also kind of feeling all the undercurrents and the nuances too. That those energies may be felt independently or kind of together. It's like the royal queen of the sea. It could be that kind of energy. It could be that, regal Leo energy, but it could also have that kind of, gentle kind of mothering and compassionate energy coupled with it. So we do have lots of opportunities with the new moon for a fresh start and to kind of get a re-energizing, to kind of hopefully get us through this next part of the month and the next lunation. When we are working with Leo and we're working with Cancer as well, I feel like we're working with our heart as well, and like how do we really feel about things. Cancer is the feeling sign. It is like the emotional sign of the zodiac. But then Leo, has such a strong and regal and loyal heart, and you can, with confidence and pride, you can speak your heart, speak your truth as well. So when we're working with the new moon energies on the 16th, doing any kind of intention setting that is helping you align with speaking your truth, that is helping you kind of continue to like release and let go of what is no longer serving you, the energies that you're outgrowing, that you've been outgrowing. You've been reviewing things through these retrogrades that, are like, wow, I've outgrown that. That doesn't work for me anymore. This doesn't vibe with me. It doesn't feel right. And that new moon is going to give you maybe some fresh perspective too on, as you've been peeling away those layers, what maybe needs to go next or what energy you need to step into next as well. The energy I don't feel is going to really let up long term for a while. And by let up, I guess I mean just like things just feel like easy breezy, like, like you're not having to work on stuff, all of that. And I know that it may feel exhausting at this point, and then it's like, oh my gosh, like, are we even halfway there? Like, is there an end in sight with this work, this deep work that we're doing? And really, we're always working on things, right? Even I guess when it feels like they're like we do have a break and things are easy, but this is good work that we're doing. We are just shedding and letting go and releasing and just discerning what really, really works for us and what we really want. And the other stuff is like, why am I still doing this? Or why am I still carrying this? And we need to, I think, allow ourselves time and space for grieving what we're letting go as well. If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling like exhausted with that, it could be that you are not kind of like refilling your energy reserves or not filling your cup with the things that do work, right? You're just focusing on the like let go, release, and then you're kind of like, wow, I'm kind of energetically hungry, I'm burned out, or whatever it is. So those practices that help us feel connected, that help us feel grounded are, of course, always good, but it's going to be extremely helpful during this time. And whether that is just taking your shoes off and walking through the grass, going walking along the river or in the woods, having a nice bonfire out in your backyard, eating all the healthy fruits and vegetables that are in season right now that are coming in. We just had the first harvest, at the beginning of the month. So all those things you can do to still stay grounded in your body, to replenish your body, and to kind of keep yourself going through this, right? This is not a, starving out, the bad. It's like you're willingly letting it go. You're willingly letting these things go that are no longer working for you, right? And it feels like a relief. It feels like you are suddenly unburdened as you can take a breath, right? But then you're like, holy crap, I'm tired, And so do the things that help energize you, that get you into a state of harmony and balance, and that get you into a place of feeling that you are nourished. We can talk about, more helpful tools for that a little bit later as well. So, question for those of you who are watching right now, or I guess with the replay, you could just, add a comment or something too. But are you all feeling tired? Are you all feeling kind of just run ragged with all of this work you've been doing, Or are you like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. Like, how are you guys feeling? Do you guys want to comment, have anything to say about kind of what's been going on in your sphere before we kind of move forward to the next few fun retrograde things? Let's see here. I will wait patiently for a moment for questions or comments. All right, everyone is silently watching. All right, that's fine. That's totally fine. And if, bone tired. Okay, Amanda says she's tired. Yeah, today, I don't know if you can tell, but I just had like a little tiny cup of coffee this morning. But man, I am feeling tired. And it's kind of like, it feels like it's going to rain, and I just literally like, yeah, I could just go to bed, you know? But I do feel tired, right now too. So, of course, when we're whether we're entrepreneurs or we're good workers or we've got all these things to juggle, um, we're told by society, we're told by our parents, we're told by lots of other things that, we're just supposed to work, work, work and just be happy about it. And, rest, taking a break, admitting that you're tired, is just really frowned upon. And yet we sleep like a third of our lives or something, right? Like we need that. Like we literally need to sleep and we need to rest, because when we're doing that, that's when our body is like literally repairing itself. It's healing. It's like, repairing your cells, like getting rid of old cells, making new cells. The vitamins and minerals and the supplements you take and stuff are really better synthesized, in your body when you're sleeping. Sleep is so important. Rest is so important. And yet we have this guilt attached to that, like if we took a nap, or if we just said, I'm going to bed early, or, I need to take it easy today, or whatever it is. It's just like there's so much guilt associated to that, with that, like we're being weak, or we gave up or something. But that if you do what you need to do to kind of recharge and to refill, what has maybe been expended, or that you're needing a little bit extra, rest or nourishment or whatever during this time, how much clearer you're able to think, how much more productive you are, when you're working and all of that. So listen to your body, listen to your energy, and really pay attention to that and do what works for you, because that if you're not taking care of yourself and you're just pushing through, drinking the extra cups of coffee, energy drinks, or, whatever, your adrenals are just going to be like in like a hyperdrive, and like that's no good, because that makes like you produce cortisol, and that's all stress, and that's no fun. But it's only gonna go so long, and then you're just gonna kind of crash, and that's when we get sick, that's when we get clumsy, so take care of yourselves, and rest, and say that is just as worthy, and that is just as good as like time spent as being, doing, right? Rest is doing something. It's taking care of yourself. So do that for sure. So we have so many planets in retrograde already. Let me list them off for you. We have Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto that are already in retrograde, and they're like more of the outer planets, and so they move a little bit more slowly. And we have Venus, of course, that went retrograde at the last week of August. And then on the 23rd of August, we will have Mercury going retrograde. And it will be retrograde until like the second week of September. Mercury retrograde is always, like a shorter-ish retrograde. Venus retrograde is 40 days this time around. And then Mercury retrograde is a little shorter than that. It's about 3.5 weeks or so. But we also have Uranus going retrograde on the 28th. So that's what, three, four, that's 6 planets retrograde by the end of August. And that's a lot. It's a lot. And it doesn't mean like it's gonna be like this big cataclysm or something necessarily. It really means that from the vantage point that we have on Earth, it appears that those planets are moving backwards. And it's actually more of like an optical illusion. They're not literally like stopping and then like going, backwards, but that's how we perceive it. And that's kind of how the energy flows to us, when it gets to Earth. And so retrogrades, even though it's like if a planet like Mercury, for example, Mercury governs like communication, travel, technology, right? So when Mercury goes retrograde, that's where you hear about everybody saying like, oh, my car broke down and, I sent this email, but then they didn't get it, or you're having this, communication mix-ups, or your computer crashes, or, all this stuff, right? Knock on wood. We're not saying any of that's going to happen. But Mercury retrograde, kind of has the reputation, of it's like, oh, everything's going wrong. Well, it's Mercury retrograde, right? And although those things can happen, I think it was last week or maybe the week before. We talked about when, I guess it was the week before, because Mercury had entered the shadow period. I think it was like on the 3rd. And so it was like, maybe it was last week that I talked about this, but it's like it's entering the shadow period now, so like I said, the energy is kind of like flowing in and then starts, and then we have it, and then it kind of flows out, right? So it's like the shadow period, which we're still in right now, right, is a good time to kind of make sure that all of your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted and your oil is changed in your car. Like, FYI, I need to get the oil changed in my car. Just kind of do some of those maintenance things that maybe you've been putting off too, so that when Mercury does go retrograde, you're like, but I already took care of that. Like that's not going to sneak up and just come and bite me in the butt, because I did prepare a bit. I took care of those things that maybe needed attention. So it's still a really good time to do that now before Mercury goes retrograde. Okay. Back up your, your stuff on your cloud, or, back up your computer, like, whatever it is. So, but when Mercury is going retrograde and we're talking about this like reverse motion, let's just talk about communication as an example. It doesn't always mean that communication is just going to be like garbled and like mixed up. It can also mean that we're going to get communication from the past, right? Because a retrograde is like a review energy. And so when we have the motion kind of, appearing to go backwards, it's like a, looking back in time, looking maybe back at something that was a situation that, was important to us. Maybe it is a check-in with kind of like where we're at now versus like when that situation, happened in the past, and see if we've met that resolution, or maybe there's more new information that shows up during Mercury retrograde as well. And since we have Venus in retrograde and we will have Mercury in retrograde at the same time, okay, where so many of you may already be getting communication from people, relationships from the past, okay, if anybody's showed up and be like, hey, and you're like, oh my God, blast from the past, that is kind of amplified as well with Mercury being retrograde. So, and as we know, with Venus retrograde, we don't really, it's not really a fortuitous time for like new relationships. And if somebody shows up from the past just being like, hey, like, yeah, you're back, it's really more of a review time. It's really more of a check with like where you are and kind of where you were, and just to see like what other issues you maybe want to kind of heal. Really, it's so much of an opportunity for healing. So it doesn't mean that you can't start a new relationship, or rekindle, things in Mercury retrograde or Venus retrograde. But there just might be challenges, or it might be tying up those loose ends, or, really hashing through some things before there really is a fresh start. So just keep that in mind. But Mercury being in retrograde is, the energy slows down a bit. It's more sluggish. Same with, Venus retrograde. Same with any of the planets being retrograde. And so because it's like, it's not, the energy isn't just like, moving forward without friction, without swimming upstream. It's just, it's not going full steam ahead. It is really kind of just like churning, and so it gives us a chance to have to not rush through things too, and really be able to kind of deal with any things that that are coming up during those retrogrades as well. So it could be just like pressure's off, if this is just lasting for a couple weeks, for a month, whatever it is. It's like, let's just kind of take it easy with this and really use this time for review, and then get that stuff kind of done, worked on. And then when the energy shifts back into being direct, motion, then it's like, okay, well, let's go with that now. Let's apply what we learned and then kind of move forward. So it is kind of like a little bit of a break, even though it seems like, oh my gosh, it's bringing up so much stuff, right? At least we're not having to do that in like fast forward motion. That would be insane, right? If you had to deal with all this healing and like, reconciling the past and stuff, and everything was literally like the fast forward button was pushed. That would be awful. So this is actually a blessing in disguise, right? But when Mercury goes retrograde on the 23rd of August, the Sun will also be moving into Virgo. Okay. And so Virgo, as we know, is like the sign of the Virgin. So there kind of has like, there is this, like standards, kind of energy with Virgo, but it can be very organized, very kind of methodical. And Virgo can also, really help us focus on like our health, our well-being, taking care of our bodies, having our houses organized and things like that too. Of course, some of us have kind of talked about when Venus went retrograde, like I was like cleaning my house, for like 2 days. But that's like my sanctuary, too. So, we're going to feel that more, with Mercury going, retrograde. And being in Virgo, it is an opportunity for kind of almost like a reviewing, clearing out, and then almost like a rebirth, like regeneration as well. And so if you're feeling pulled to like focus on your health, to focus on your like healthy habits, things like that will probably become more of an intense focus for you when the Sun moves into Virgo and when Mercury goes retrograde too. So if you are feeling kind of like overwhelmed with the energies of everything, of all this work that you've been doing, of kind of, again, like I mentioned at the beginning, like just the tedium of all of that, and you're feeling kind of burnt out, it's okay just to like take a little break too. Maybe get out of town for the weekend, go over to Hot Springs. Hot Springs is freaking fantastic. That's in North Carolina. It's like a total just like hour-and-a-half drive, day trip, super easy, natural hot springs. What could be wrong with that? Nothing. Go to the beach. The rates, at the beach, after Labor Day go like super, super cheap. So, for the beach. So, if you need to kind of recharge that way too, obviously I feel like I need to. I'm like, water. But you can do that too. And it could just be like taking a break or a vacation from work, putting in some PTO hours. It could be, unplugging from social media or whatever, to a vacation, a little break, just as a respite, just to kind of like recalibrate, as we've been doing so much work, and we'll continue to do so much work. So let us talk about with Mercury being retrograde. I feel like a lot of times, like when we're hacking away and healing and dealing with like mistakes we made in the past, or like cringe, like how could I have done that, or like I can't believe I used to do that, or whatever it is, things from the past that might be coming up. It may feel a little isolating too, especially if we're kind of like being judgy on ourselves, which it's good to have that perspective and be like, to be like objective and just say, wow, like I'm here, be in that state of acceptance, be like, I was there, and like, wow, like look how far I've come. Or if we're like, I am still doing the same stuff, I am repeating the same patterns, and like I'm tired of it. Well, use these energies to really help you kind of move through that, right? But if you're finding yourself being kind of judgy, like on yourself, or because of the communication gonna, break down, or kind of challenges in relationships with, Venus retrograde or Mercury retrograde, and you're just feeling like, it's okay to like seek help. It's okay to, talk to other people. Like, I mean, even like what we're doing here, like, trying to be like, wow, I'm feeling this too, to have that understanding that it is affecting you, and it is affecting you in your own individual life. But you're not the only person on earth. You're not the only person on the planet that is being affected by all this stuff. And we all are going through these things in our own ways. And sometimes just having that support, having that community, having that sense of, relatability, is really, really helpful too. So if you're finding yourself on an island, feeling alone and really feeling like you're being down on yourself, like find your good friend, find the person who always has your back, and like let them give you a pep talk, and remind you of what good work you've been doing. And also, when you're feeling good, be that person for, the other people that are having these challenges, during this time. Because we're all going through it. We all are in our own ways, and it doesn't mean that we're all necessarily suffering together, but it means that as we do this work and we do the work on ourselves and we heal these things, that we're also helping everybody too. We're helping the vibration of everyone around us in our environment, whether it's work, our home, people that we're related to, we share DNA with, but also everyone on the planet, and so that's why it's so important to do this work, to do the work. We didn't come here to just keep making mistakes, or keep doing everything that didn't feel right, or didn't feel good, or felt that it was in conflict, just like with who we are. We didn't come here to do that. Like, we may learn lessons that way. We may go, oh, that's what happens when you do that. Oh, that didn't feel so good, and I've experienced what that feels like. That's an experience or a lesson. But we also came here to really enjoy ourselves. We came here to really experience also, the peaks. There's the valleys that give us that perspective, but we came here to experience the peaks and the beauty and the wonderful sensual experience that is being a human. So do that too. Let yourself do that too, and know that's why we're here, is for full circle experience, for sure. first is just kind of see what message comes out, and kind of look at that. And then I think that I will get a feel if this is a kind of more of a general reading for everyone who's watching, or if this might be something that is more specific to either someone or a few people who are watching this video, either the live or the replay. You know, because I always trust, like, if you're like, yeah, I'm gonna watch that, you know, like, see what she's talking about, and pull some cards. It might be a message that is coming through for you. Now, you know, I know I have a couple people watching here too. If anybody wants to ask a question, then I can do that for you too. Okay. Well, let's kind of see in general, kind of like what comes up first. We'll just pull a couple cards, and I haven't used this deck in a long time, so find it interesting of maybe being slightly nostalgic here. Ooh, okay. Cards jump in there. Let's see if we can pull one more or two jump out. I'm not getting any more jumpers. We might go with cutting the deck. I'll look at the bottom in just a minute, okay? So we have the Nine of Spears, and then we have the Star card. The Nine of Spears is like, you know, always fun. I'll show this to you in just a second. Facebook. This is of course, the Arthurian legend. So we have lots of kind of like Celtic like imagery and mythology, but this is called the Wind Harps of War. This is definitely a card that is, it's talking about I think it's the struggle, and it's really kind of like the reminder that that things may come up that are difficult, you know, things may come up that are challenging, but we can be resourceful and we can prepare for sure. And this is, it's telling me that change is inevitable, that transformation is inevitable, but how you prepare yourself, and it's almost like the work that you do leading up to that, can really determine if the change is like a catastrophe. Then you're like, I went through this and I learned this and it was so awful, but you know, I'm on the other side of it now. And like completely blindsided you, right? Or if you're like paying attention to how you feel, you're paying attention to these signs and these signals that are coming in, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to be proactive. You know, I'm going to start doing some of this work. You know, I'm going to either make sure that I'm, you know, getting the rest that I need, that I'm doing that self-care, and that I'm really trying to take care of, not really from like an anxiety standpoint or like a, you know, paranoid, like prepper standpoint. And I'm not saying preppers are paranoid. I'm just saying if you were to be someone prepping or preparing, but then you're also paranoid, if that makes sense. But, you know, to where it's like anxiety driven, it is like fear driven. It doesn't have to come from that place, but it's just saying, I know that this is coming, you know, but I am seeing signs of what is to come. And we do get a lot of indications. We know, we feel it, right? Like before it shows up. I mean, if we're completely blindsided by something, either it was just like almost like a random chaotic thing that just showed up on our radar, or we were just like, la, 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 I'm not paying attention. But, you know, usually that hindsight is like, yeah, I kind of knew. I kind of saw some signs, right? So pay attention to those things. You are an intuitive, very perceptive creature. So pay attention to kind of what feels like is coming, and do the things that you can to kind of prepare. Okay? Now, the other card with that is the Star card. Okay? And the Star card, okay, on this deck is called the Fire Drake. You know, it's like a comet, you know, across the sky. So these two cards together are telling me that talking about those signs, right? That we should pay attention to. But I feel that there is something miraculous that comes out of the upset and the upheaval. There is something on the other side that is worth it, that is worth that challenge. And the almost like the carnage that is kind of part of that. If you think of like war, that is part of it, that there is like there is loss and there is letting go, so that then we can receive and have more come in. But the star is a good omen, saying there's something coming. But you also need to be perceptive about that too, because a lot of times there are good things or fortuitous things that are coming in, and sometimes the universe is like, hey, and if we're just like this, right, and not paying attention, that like we could miss that sign, right? So pay attention. Being grounded, being rested is going to really help you pay attention. So I don't know who needed to hear that, or if you all needed to hear that. I feel like it's kind of like a collective message. But good advice. So let me pull some more cards here. I'm going to pull from the Spirit Song Tarot, which is kind of like usually my go-to deck. And the Spirit Song Tarot is by Paulina Cassidy, and it is a tarot deck, but every card has an animal on it as well. And so you get the combination of tarot energy, and then you get the animal totem message too. And I just remembered that I didn't pull the card that was on the bottom of the Arthurian tarot deck. So I'm going to pull these cards, and then I'm going to check and see what that one was, because I think it's like, ooh, and then there's this. So we'll see. And it may be like a bridge. It may kind of connect this message with the other one. So the Spirit Song Tarot is lovely, absolutely lovely. And I'm going to see if any cards jump out. Hi. Okay, 3. There we go. Cool. So I'm going to turn these over, and then, nice. I have like mental note joke in my head there. And then we have the King of Swords that was on the bottom of the deck. I feel that this is telling us this is a little bit of a reminder to also I want to say like keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. And I feel like we do have good friends, or we do have those people that we are loyal to and that are loyal to us. But I also feel like for some of you, maybe there may be some truths that come out during this time that you are kind of, reviewing things from the past, or kind of going through this, kind of upheaval energy, where people who you thought were your friends or who you vibed with or whatever are actually not that. And I feel like this is, it could be a warning, it's just like kind of pay attention again, like be discerning and pay attention. But I really feel like a lot of it is just like a revelation of, if they feel like an enemy, or they feel like someone who doesn't have your back, who's not supportive or whatever, that it's probably because you've outgrown each other, or your life paths, your timelines have split, and that's okay. The point is that you keep doing what you came here to do, and you keep aiming for those higher vibrational energies and connections and timeline. So sometimes it's that we really kind of grow apart, and there may be some animosity or some negativity because it's really because we just can't relate anymore, and that's okay. That's okay. But that there are people through this time that are going to be like, wow, like they are my loyal, steadfast friend. See, he has, there's his dog. Where is it? Right there. There's his loyal companion right there. I'm not saying it's necessarily our puppy. It could be, but there are people that are loyal and that are steadfast and that love us no matter what, and that we're that for people as well, and that should be a comfort during this time too. And those are the ones that we want to like hang out with when that star card comes through. And it's like, cool, cool, awesome thing, right? We want to be able to share that with those people. All right, so let me see the next cards that I pulled from the Spirit Song Tarot. We have the Two of Shells, which is like the Two of Cups, and it was reversed, but it's two doves on it, okay? And then we have the Strength card, which is the Elephant. And then we have the Ace of Shells, which is like the Ace of Cups. Okay. And I'm going to pull maybe one or two more cards to kind of expound upon this. But I really feel like this is what this message is. This message is saying that if you are experiencing, especially in romantic relationships, if you are experiencing either friction, breakup, lots of challenges, things like that during this time, that it's kind of par for the course, and that's kind of to be expected in some of our lives. But it doesn't mean that that is the end of love for the rest of your life, number one. And it doesn't mean that even if you are having that friction or that trouble, or there's like a breakup or a temporary break, or uncertainty, or difficult subjects are coming up or anything like that, especially with this Mercury and Venus retrograde, right? That as much as that becomes like the focus for us, our relationships and our romantic relationships are so important in our lives, right? But instead of you seeing that as like, that external, because a relationship is external. You have your partner, and then you have the relationship, which is like its own thing that you coming together and working on is its own thing, right? But we find so much of our self-worth in our like the tempo of our life and what's important and compromised and everything, that it gets all wrapped up, and we find our identity and sense of self-worth and how we spend our time, all of that just gets really, really wrapped up in our relationships so often. But the thing is that if you're having those challenges in a relationship, that you are being called to have that strength. And it is not really, I don't feel like the strength is like brute strength. It could be. I mean, elephants are very strong, right? Elephants are very large beasts that are very, very strong. But they're not like, well, usually. I mean, I'm just picking up on the energy that I'm getting. And I'm sure, elephants can be terrifying and violent sometimes, right? If they're angry. But the energy that I'm picking up on is really more of that gentle strength. It's a gentle giant. And it is saying that just you being in your own energy and really trying to focus on that, keeping your energy strong, grounded, clear, that has so much more of an impact, look, in your life and then around, for everyone around you, than needing to be like bravado, needing to be loud, needing to be scary, that silent strength, has such a I mean, there's so much respect, with that too. And it's like, also I'm getting like to tap into your core, to tap into your strength and that grounded energy. And like elephants, I just, keep thinking of the gestation period of like a baby elephant is like 2 years. Like it's a long time. Like that's some strength there to be able to be pregnant for 2 years. Number two, when, elephants are such like so bonded with each other. I mean, they are herd animals, and they protect the young, they protect the old, they mourn when their loved ones, when their other herd members, when they die. They're so intelligent and so gentle, but so big and so strong. And so, I'm getting that it's like you can be strong and have this strong like resonance about you. You can still be compassionate for yourself and for the ones around you. You can still take care of and defend or protect yourself first and foremost, but those that are maybe less fortunate or not able to take care of themselves. But it's just like by your presence alone and just the demeanor that you have can be so impactful. It doesn't have to be like a Tasmanian devil, if that makes sense. Okay. And then with the last card, with the Ace of Shells, which, it's a turtle. The Ace of Shells is telling us that we are really working towards our ultimate happiness and our ultimate abundance of all good things, right? When we say abundance, we think, oh, money, but it's like an abundance of love, an abundance of food, an abundance of happiness or health or whatever it is. And so that's what we're doing this work for. That's why those relationships, we maybe outgrow, or we realize that like we need to restate our boundaries, or maybe our boundaries or expectations have kind of morphed and grown and changed as we have. And so it's okay to go through that and to be truthful and honor what is true for you, so that you are moving towards true happiness and true abundance. I mean, we don't want an abundance of crap. We want an abundance of like awesome stuff, right? So that's what we're working towards. We let go of the abundance of what we don't want, and we're moving towards what we do. And so it is worth it for sure. So let me pull bottom of the deck, and then I'm going to cut the deck and see what else is here. The Temperance card was on the bottom. It's a zebra. It was reversed. If you're feeling impatient, with all of this, dude, it's not going to let up. I'm sorry. This growing, this changing, this like, feeling like, oh, there's aliens now. Like, we're like, we knew that already, like all this stuff. It's just going to just keep being exposed. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep changing. Unless you just want to be like, I'm done growing. I'm done experiencing, and I just want to hide. You can do that. But most of you watching this did not come here to do that. You came here to really have an awesome experience of what it is to be a human. So if you're feeling impatient, like, when is it going to let up, or, when is everything going to, get better, or, when is my life going to, be perfect, or when is, my twin flame going to show up, or, whatever it is. Like, you being impatient is understandable, right? But that's not the energy that you want to put into, I'm abundant, I'm grateful, I'm, receiving everything that I want to experience in my life. When you're impatient, well, it's frustrating and hard to deal with yourself, but then you're putting out the energy of, I'm impatient. So the universe is like, cool, let me let you stub your toe and get stuck in traffic, So you don't want to manifest that. So if you're feeling impatient, know that the more that you focus on being grounded and the more that you focus on just like what you're wanting to bring in, what is really coming towards you already in your trajectory, that the sooner it shows up. That impatience is friction that kind of bogs down the system. And the card that was in the middle is the shadow card. Nice little coyote creature. And of course, to me, this is saying not like, not as much of like your shadow side that we're really talking about here. Is I feel that this is more like bring to the surface what you maybe have been afraid to say to yourself, to express to others, you know, share about like who you really are, what you really believe, what you really want, right? That's really scary when we say, when we admit to ourselves and then we say, this is what I really want and this is what I really deserve. Because when we say that, then we've acknowledged that that's something that we really believe or that we really want. And then what if it doesn't come true? You know, or what if it doesn't happen as quickly as it would, you know, as we would like for it to happen? Or what if we're disappointed, right? So if we kind of like keep it, you know, like underneath the surface, then it's just like, well, you know, it's my secret desire, it's my secret ambition. But if I don't say it, then maybe I won't be disappointed if it doesn't happen. Or people can't be like, oh, you know, judging you, right? But then how is that really being authentic and true to who you are? To keep that underneath the surface, but then like have to act a different way or behave a different way. So also shadow is really, it's integrating. The more things or what you keep in the shadow and what you keep pushed down really has so much more like control over you and has so much more impact over you too than what you're saying, you know, what's on the surface. And so it's like when you just kind of like, okay, it's not the shadow anymore. Like I'm just shedding some light on this. I'm integrating that, you know, in completion with who I am. It just kind of like doesn't rule you as much either. And you can just like relax into it. So consider that as well. All right. So let me, any questions? Anybody have a question or want to like say, pull a card for me? Anybody who's watching? I can't really do this when it's the replay. Like I can't pull a card for you through your comment in the replay, but I can do it in the live. This is Sacred Traveler, Denise Lynn. Oracle cards that someone gave me. These feel good. They're nice thick cards, they're big. Sacred Traveler. We are all on a sacred journey. What do? Okay. It's just like, phew, there's that one. What do we need to know? Come on. Okay. No more jumping. Come on. We have Wandering Path. They almost jumped, but they didn't. Oh my gosh. No more jumping. Let's stick with Wandering Path. Wandering Path, sly little foxy creature there with the map and a compass. And the Wandering Path talks about enjoying the journey. I feel like these cards are kind of all connected, and it's kind of talking about what we have, hitting on what we've talked about. I feel like it's like enjoy the ride because you all signed up for it. I signed up for it. You signed up for it. And we chose to be here. and experience all the things in this time right now. I'm going to pull some from my Dreams of Gaia deck and see if we can get any kind of expounding on this wandering path message, since we just got one Sacred Traveler card. Let's see if I shuffle them, they jump out. All right, anything else that we need to know? Well, we had some jumpers. Okay, I'm just gonna look at the bottom of the deck, why not? Ready? Heaven and earth. Heaven and earth. And again, I feel like this is saying we chose this. We are this alchemical being of spirit and of animal that are merging in the heart chakra and in the human experience. And we all and we all came to be here. Manus has already pulled her cards. Awesome. Good. And so as we kind of accept our birthright, you know, of like, I came here to experience stuff, and I can experience things in the challenging, difficult, hard lesson way, because that's what I'm choosing, you know, or that's what I've almost like chosen, you know, my soul to be like, well, it's gonna be a good lesson, it's gotta be a hard lesson, right? Or imagine if you maybe played with the idea of higher self, universe, guides, you know, whoever we're talking to out there. I would love to experience the next experience coming down the pipeline, but I want it to be fun. I want it to be expansive. I want it to be exhilarating, or, you know, I want to feel really like creative, you know, whatever it is. But I want it to be a fun lesson. I want it to be where I'm able to expand into that energy. And I'm going to release fear. I'm going to release guilt. I'm going to release that punishing energy that, you know, we might have, but, you know, we were gifted that by generational trauma and society and all of those things too. We were told, you know, a lesson's not good unless it's hard, but that's not actually true. It doesn't have to be true. So maybe play with, sure, game on. I am totally ready for the next experience, but I want it to be fun, and I'm going to look forward to it, and I'm going to, you know, I'm going to step into it with arms wide open, instead of saying, oh God, what's next, right? So heaven and earth is also a very balancing. It is a very balanced card, and I feel like there's also an indication with this too, you know, that there are supportive energies and messages here. Earth side, you know, animals getting symbol signs, things like that. Having just a conversation with someone, and you just cross paths, and it's like, whoa, that just like totally changed the trajectory of my life. But then we also have the support of our guides, of our higher self, of angels, whoever, whatever you work with, right? Of the cosmos, you have that support as well. And so remember that you are a divine cosmic being, and you have access to that bird's eye view as well, right? So it is 8:06. We've been going for about an hour. See if there's anything else that comes through, any more wisdom. And I love it, you know, when I do readings, because, you know, I'm doing them for you, or I'm doing them for a client, or whatever it is. But, you know, I always feel that there's a reason why, you know, that person has come to me for a reading, you know, or those of you who are watching right now, why you are watching. And so I feel that there's kind of a crossing of paths where, there's a relevant message for me too, so being the observer and the channel, I hear myself sometimes, saying something, and then like Meleah is like, yeah, that's really good. Pay attention to that, listen to that. Okay. Thank you, Amanda. So let me just see about one more card here or a couple and see if there's anything else that we need to know to be in the energy of our highest good, to step into our highest timeline and to really transform and really be the alchemists that we are. One, that's funny. The images on this card, there was a customer in today. She was telling me about a hot air balloon ride that she went on that was crashed kind of basically, but then she ended up getting on another hot air balloon. She's awesome. She travels the world and brings me rocks and sand from all the places she goes to. She's wonderful. All right. View from above and reaching your destination. View from above, like I said, hot air balloons. Just had that conversation, like I said, with my customer earlier today. This says get the big picture. And this is totally just like if you are feeling like you don't know why you're here, or you don't know what the next step is, or all the stuff that's kind of unraveling or going wrong or whatever is just overwhelming to you. You need some perspective. And meditation is fantastic for that. Getting a little bit of a break, like we talked about earlier, like, going to hot springs, unplugging from everybody for a couple days or whatever it is to give you that perspective is very helpful. And it is having that bird's eye view, and then it's saying, oh, I've just been focusing on all these trees and the brush and everything here in this forest. But then now that I, scan out a little bit, it's like I can see the bigger picture. And then also sometimes this view from above, getting the bigger picture, is also maybe enlisting the help of someone else, whether it's like a therapist or your friend or trusted some advisor, someone that you really, really feel can give you some good advice. And with objectivity and with an open mind, just say, I'm stuck, I'm feeling stuck in this situation. How do you see it? Or what is a different way for me to maybe see this, right? Perspective is everything. And then the next card is reaching your destination. Your light is shining brightly. It is like a castle and almost like a Wizard of Oz kind of orb thing along the path. There's a butterfly in the picture. And this to me is saying that the way that you reach your higher timeline, the way that you manifest those relationships, the life that you want, is to be in your higher energy, and is to focus on your light and to focus on doing the work. If you're not feeling light and you're feeling bogged down and you're in the trenches, do that work so that then you can experience the other kind of side of the coin of that expansive energy, of your light. Because if you're wanting to get somewhere, if you're on the path, which we're all on the path, right? But if you're going somewhere, you're like, I want to experience this. You might not even know what it is, but it could just be a feeling. It could be joy. It could be peace. It could be bliss. Bliss is like a great word, right? It's a great feeling. What's bliss? I don't know. Send me stuff that makes me feel bliss. But you have to expand into that. You have to be open to that. You have to be light, high vibration to be able to attract and your energy merge with other things that vibe with that. I mean, that's just kind of how it works. So if you don't feel light and expansive, you feel dense, you feel heavy, you feel contracted, that's okay. I'm not saying that that's like wrong, that you shouldn't be that way, but I'm saying that that is your experience right now. That is going to be your experience, and you're probably going to get other things that show up that resonate with that energy. And maybe that's what you need. Maybe that's what you're choosing. Maybe you need to experience the depths and the depths to really get that perspective, right? Because our human experience is kind of about duality. And if we experience the depths and the density, which is valid, then we have that for comparison, so that when we feel something that's different, that is light and buoyant and expansive, we really know what that feels like too. And it feels so good. And if everything was just like blase, everything was just like flatline, then we would just be like, it is what it is. We would be indifferent. We wouldn't feel good. We wouldn't feel bad. We would just feel what is. And that's not really what we came here to experience, don't think. So the comparison is actually good. So not trying to make lemonade so much, but I tend to kind of be that person, or at least have that, perspective, that if things are tough, things are hard, things are dense, you at least are getting that experience. You're getting experience points in that one. And then also get the other side of the coin, get the other side of the spectrum, to where I know the depths, but the deeper you go, you also are going to be able to experience more on the spectrum of what is so expansive and light as well. And it's all about, I don't want to say moderation, but like, we're not going to have just like everything perfect, because if everything was perfect and light, then we would again not have that comparison, that duality, to say that's what light is, that's what dark is, right? So they all have there's worthiness in all of it for experiencing that. But if you are tired of the density, you're tired of the contraction, you're tired of the heaviness, you're like, I don't want this, then do things, focus on your light, your buoyancy, your expansiveness, and that's gonna take you where you want to go, for sure.